Hello and welcome once again to What's the Damage, companion show to the incredibly well-known and popular real play D&D show Roll for Damage, made up of 100% beef. We're back. We were on break for a week, but weep no more because we are back and ready to rumble, baby. And rumble we did. Ghosts, riddles, inferior favors. Oh my. The Shields of Twilight had a very exciting episode on Friday full of twisty brain teasers and also dancing. A surprising amount of dancing. We'll be drilling the players in every minute detail of this today, and then discussing something truly scandalous for a D&D show, games other than D&D. All of that right now. As always, stick around after the stream for links and resources. I'm your host, Truth Venson, and this is What's the Damage? Yay. Welcome back. You might notice these are the same guests we had last time. It's because it's Laura's birthday today. Happy birthday, Laura. So she can't be here. Chad can't be here because Laura can't be here. Jay can't be here because he wasn't on the game, and Tick's busy, I think. So
what you're saying is we're your only options, and we have no lives. We have no lives. Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Pretty much. Okay, so welcome to Caleel, who plays Baltaim, our favorite warlock wizard, apparently I just found out. And welcome to Jake, who plays the apparently very romantically entangled now, Oriana. We'll talk about that. What's the damage, guys? You met the Emperor and had to solve some puzzles for some horny ghosts.
Oh gosh. You want to take this one first?
No. Let the person who had the night of.
Oh gosh.
Oriana got hit on twice. Just saying.
So popular.
Yeah, so popular. Why don't you take this one?
I don't even know where to begin. Yeah. I'm playing the.
I think we're finally understanding Oriana as a charisma player, as a charisma character.
Well, I mean, I always imagined
being a bard's about.
I always imagined her being kind of demure, and then she gets thrown into these situations, and I'm like, okay. How would she react? Okay. No, the half orc that she met at the bar, that was a nice experience for her. She's not used to being treated like that. Without going into too much of the backstory, because I don't think DM wants us to do that, but let's just say I've played her against type for a reason, and it was a nice experience for her to just have a nice dance, have a nice conversation, and it just ends with that. That was a really good experience for her. And then we have Quinn.
I mean, possessed Quinn.
Yeah,
fair.
Possessed Quinn. But that was interesting. That was fun. I didn't know how to play that.
That sounds interesting. Okay.
Like at any point, did not know how to play that, but it was fun.
Mhm.
I loved all of it. But it's probably partially because Baltimore didn't have to be possessed, so I was enjoying all of everything that was happening. I was like, yeah, okay, this is this is a good experience. I'm liking this. I'm liking this.
Yeah, fun times. Yeah, so you guys went clubbing, just kind of like your sauna day, your bathhouse scene, the county fair episode. Was it nice to have some downtime, like in the middle of all the weird shit that's been happening to your characters?
Yes. I don't know if anyone's noticed, but
Mhm.
there's been a trend with Baltimore. Every time we do something, Baltimore does something just random. Wow, he does something. He does something fun. He feels like. I think we when we got finished with the finding the person for Lex,
Mhm.
he did shrooms afterwards. Like there's been a theme with him. Every time we do something he feels that's important um, or good. When we saved that person from the Afriti, he did
Mhm.
some sanguine dreams. He's just he's a very chaotic person.
He likes
He
to let
does
loose
yeah
sometimes, you
he does
know.
he does some good
He's like,
things.
I've earned this.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
earned this.
So yeah, he's enjoyed it.
Awesome.
Yeah. Going clubbing with Oriana was a unique experience.
I
For
want you. I want you to be a pretty princess so badly. I
a
want it so
little
badly.
noble girl whose only experience dancing was ballroom.
Mhm.
So, we're gonna go out dancing. Okay. Oh, wait, why is everybody else dressed down? Like I'm wearing my best. What's
Yeah.
going on here? Oh
It
man.
was a funny bit of culture clash. She did pick up swing though, apparently, pretty well.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, please do not restart right now, computer. Thank you. So is she gonna look up that half orc later? That guy's had a connection.
We'll see. If she's ever back this way, we'll see. But she's
Mm-hmm.
she's got something going on right now, you know?
She seems like a hopeless romantic. Is that
the,
the vibe I'm getting? Like is
She's
that
waiting for
no?
her Prince
Like yeah,
Charming.
she's got like this. I feel like she has this like envision of like like the true a lot of nobles get like the true love,
Mhm.
the prince. Like I feel like she's like one of those people that like she believes in love like really hard, and she's
Aw.
like wanting that perfect story. I feel
Aw.
like if that am I getting that wrong vibe or no?
Aw.
she did read a lot of fairy tales
Okay,
growing up.
okay.
And then when she was older, probably a few romance novels.
Okay.
So she's got ideas.
She's got ideas. She's not. It's not the forefront of her mind, but if she comes back to Seriton, she'd look him up.
Cute. Yeah, so we already talked about that actually. Okay, so moving on from the club, as fun as it was, you guys got to meet the Emperor. Have like Ball and Ori been the presence of royalty before? I know Oriana is a noblewoman. Is visiting court like an everyday thing for her, or?
Not really. She's kind of like lower nobility. She's not like living at the palace or anything like that. It's been discussed on stream. She was actually proposed to by one of the three leaders of her homeland, and that was kind of one of the triggering events of I need to leave now because I think my homeland is up to some suspicious things, and I don't want to get stuck in this. And then her favorite goddess was like, yeah, no, that's bad.
That's bad. Get out. Get out.
I don't think she understands nobility, I think, but for her, this wasn't like oh, we're meeting the emperor of a country. That's so amazing. Nobody ever gets to do this. And it was more of just, this is something Quinn needs to do, so let's get it done. I guess it's not necessarily that she wasn't impressed, more of just, people are people. Everyone's got, their own story, their own life. It was interesting, something she'll write about and tell stories about, but I don't think it's like a super impactful moment for her.
Yeah. And definitely like Perry and Quinn kind of ran the show at the palace, like if they were there for them.
Yeah. Oriana, usually the face of the group, either one of us, Ball or Ori, the face of the group, kind of recognized that this isn't her place to speak for the group. This is Quinn's chance to speak for Quinn and Perry to some extent.
So they did. What about Baltaim? Has he been to court before?
I mean, Baltaim is clearly a prince of Tanya, so.
Oh, clearly.
He's. I don't believe there are like nobles in Agaria from where he's from. He's probably been around, like walked or probably talked. Maybe like people like come into a shop or something like that. Like higher up, like higher elite people, but not like nobles or anything. And if he has, probably been very short, very succinct. And he's probably not even recognized that they had some sort of station or power. He's kind of a straight shooter, so it's kind of, even if he probably had it, probably wouldn't have mattered to him. And I think that's probably why he took the back seat. One, because it's like, well, I understand. Like he understands, like, oh, he's a some sort of king or ruler. I understand that. And he's like, well, if Oriana's not saying anything, the person I she's told us, her station before, she would think she would be more, able to communicate with these people. And if she's kind of like taking a back seat to let Quinn and Perry kind of discuss their thing, he's kind of like, yeah, I mean, if she doesn't step in, I for sure won't step in, because that's not really his place, he feels.
Makes sense. So when your characters heard that you guys were going to be put through a trial in order to earn this little drop of water, what do you guys think the trial was going to entail? Like dungeon crawl, fighting stuff? I thought you were going to fight ghosts.
Yeah, I 100% expected like dungeon crawl to like get, like, I was thinking like Temple of Doom, like when you said the Emperor's Vault, that sounded like Temple of Doom. Like, oh, there's gonna be like some crazy like Indiana Jones shit. We're gonna have to like go through the Emperor's like personal trials that he sends, like Luxa Turner or something like that, like sends them through, and like you come out like a different person. That's totally what I was expecting.
Same. I was thinking Raiders, though. I was thinking the opening of Raiders, where he's going through the temple, all the traps and everything. And then I thought, okay, that would be like the very end or something. And then there would be like bits of combat along the way or something like that. I was expecting full-on dungeon crawl. Either that or something similar to what we ended up happening, which was essentially just a big old fake out of, no, there's really nothing. You just have to sit amongst the dead people, and we're going to watch you and see what you do. Like a test of character, if you will. Like, what do you do if you're left alone in this vault full of dead people? Do you loot the bodies?
Steal some bones.
Like that's what I thought, at least. I thought it was either going to be this big fake out thing of test of character of, okay, you're alone in a vault. We're watching you, but you don't know that. What do you do? And that's why Oriana just started kind of walking around playing music, thinking, well, maybe they just want to see what we would do.
I guess they did. Cool beans. So you may have a Quinn.
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about that. How's Oriana feeling about that?
Question: is Quinn your initial answer Truth's question, but second follow-up
Mhm.
question. Do you believe in your fantasy brain that Quinn was a good kisser? Was it good?
Um. So first things first. I'm not sure how Oriana's going to process that. Actually, that may have been her first kiss, but she wasn't the one.
The presses, you heard it here first.
But she wasn't the one who got it. So
I think it counts though. We're counting that
It
one.
was her mouth.
We're counting that one.
it was her mouth, but she was not in control. Like DM even explained, it's sort of like an out-of-body experience. Like you see yourself, but you have no control over yourself. So I'm not entirely sure how Oriana's going to process that. But she immediately kind of became more fascinated when she realized it was somebody controlling her. And it wasn't sinister. It wasn't, they were skipping around, enjoying themselves. She immediately kind of recognized, well, this isn't like a bad entity. This isn't something evil. What is this? And she started trying to talk to it. And when she learned it was, that the soul or spirit was called Ferris, she wanted to understand more about them.
Second
Answer
question.
Phil's question. Yeah.
You don't have to be nice.
You don't have to be nice.
We won't tell chat.
We won't tell chat. Hope chat's watching.
So, fun fact, I was halfway considering having Oriana as soon as like everything kind of calmed down and they're walking away from the temple, just being like, Finn, you're such a good kisser. But I don't know. I need to figure out how Oriana feels about it first, because she might not count it.
Okay. It's a cop-out answer, but okay, we'll take it.
Yeah, it's kind of a cop-out. But you do you, Jake. Yeah. I don't know. Like watching it, I thought it was like a little bit more sinister than Oriana is taking it, because low-key, trigger warning, that's sexual assault if you control somebody and make them kiss somebody else.
Yes, I see that and I can understand it. And Oriana probably would have been freaked out about it if that's just like the first thing that Ferris did, was she, takes her body and goes over to Quinn unpossessed and starts making out with everybody. But she could see she didn't know, but she could see sort of what was going on. These were two separate spirits who loved each other and
don't care about boundaries.
Regained corporeal form. And she kind of liked that Ferris kind of slapped him when he tried to get a little handsy. So I don't know. I don't think she was thinking that, but when I say it's not sinister, Oriana didn't think, oh, this person's trying to steal my body forever. She kind of realized, oh, they're just having fun. This is like a playful spirit.
For pranks.
Yeah. Yeah. They didn't seem to want to harm you, is the thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I got harmed a lot. I'm just saying.
Watch.
Those shocky orbs.
I
didn't like those. I didn't like those. Team felt personally attacked. from literally no one else besides the other parts.
Yeah, you had what, 3 spirits try to grab you?
Yeah, everyone was trying to get part of the blue train, but wasn't having that. Just like, nah.
Yeah, so Baltame is the impression I have, guys. He's kind of anti-undead. He's not into all that. How do you feel like being around all these ghosts who you kind of had to be nice to?
That's gonna be a hard question to kind of.
And these ghosts that the Emperor is apparently keeping around for funsies.
Because you can't really like, oh you gotta get rid of all these dead shits. By the way, like that's
just
not
so
cool
you know. Some notes.
I don't think him personally. I don't think he has a problem with like, with any of the spirits he met at all. It seemed like he understood, like he understands like having fun. He seems like, oh, you guys are like clearly you weren't trying to like hurt us. It seemed like you were just trying to have fun. I think he thinks, like undead that are evil, that are, you know, or like he pities things that are like undead that just aren't, you know, have no minds of their own. They just are husk, and like they can't return to where they need to, you know, to their life that they, you know, move on. And he like thinks that undead are intelligent enough to do evil is like that's also a bad thing too. Just like normal people, if you do evil, it's like, well, I'm not cool with you just like blowing shit up, my guy, you know.
Don't do that.
But I don't know how the, you know, the rating team would necessarily feel about ghosts like that. I don't know if that's a gray area for her or not. I don't. He was kind of like, oh, okay. I mean, I guess like they're not hurting anything. It seems like, so I don't know if she's like, oh, hey, you need to go back in there and just fucking wipe all the motherfuckers out. That might be a hard sell to Empress Sarath.
Maybe. You both got stuff to ponder as you move forward.
Yeah.
Fun times. Okay, so puzzles, and I think this is how you know Serenity isn't feeding me spoilers, because I would have pushed puzzles week to this week if I knew what was going to happen. If I knew how relevant it was going to be. Anyway, so tell me how you as players felt when you realized that this was going to be like a mixed bag of brain teasers rather than a combat.
I was excited. I like puzzles. I went to literally the ones that was like, fuck. I was like, man. Like the two that I went to were the ones where like I was like, it could be like, you know, neither or both. I could see either being the right answer, and I was like, I'm gonna let someone else handle this. And I went to the one with the imps, which me and Chad just completely didn't understand like the concept of the puzzle at all. And so I'm thinking of like a good answer, like for like the good like hour of what we're doing. I'm like thinking of like, what the fuck am I gonna ask these imps to make one of them tell the truth, but the other one not lie? And then like I just got in this like sick little motion of like, no, that's not gonna work. Because then I'm like, and like this whole time, like I'm looking at like Laura doing her puzzle. I'm like, oh, that's how you would do that. And I'm just like, I can't like go over. I'm like, oh, that's how you would do this. So I'm like focusing on this like puzzle over here, and then the one that Seneca did with the beggar, I was like, oh, I think I understood that a little bit. And I was like, I'm on this fucking imp puzzle. And it's like, I picked the two worst ones for me, just like to try to start to like think it out, because it's really like internally thinking about it.
Yeah, I think with those one always tells the truth, one always lies type puzzles, you're supposed to ask them what would the other one say.
Right.
Yeah, in order to like, and then you do the opposite of whatever the other one says.
Yeah, and that's why I was getting there. I was like, but if I asked the one that lies, he would lie and say, oh, he would, you know, he's the liar. And I'm like, well, and then if I thought I was gonna get two answers too. That's all.
I actually also thought you were gonna get two questions.
So I was like, well, then, and then the one that tells the truth is like, oh no, he lies, and now to be at the same point where they're just pointing the fingers at each other. So I was like, oh, that's fucked. Well, and so I was like, and so it's just like, yeah, let's just flip a coin.
Yeah. He didn't die. It worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got 5 out of 6. I'll count 5. We got the one of the puzzle, the word one right, but it just took too long.
I was interested to see that they were all puzzles. I thought for sure it was going to be a few different things, not necessarily all puzzles. Like, you know, one might be a skill challenge, one might be a riddle or something, and then the other is just kind of like a logic puzzle. So the fact that they were all puzzles was kind of interesting, and an interesting take, and I could see why she had been telling us in our group message that she had been putting a lot of time and effort into it, because boy, those must have taken forever to make.
Yeah.
I am still a little salty and tilted about my first puzzle, because I could have sworn I asked the statue poured into the cup, then poured into the basin, but I must have like just skipped a step with my mouth. But I'm glad that we solved it at least.
Yeah.
And then I immediately went over to the riddle puzzle, and I had heard one very similar to that at one point, and I was like, oh, So I need to just think about it real quick. Okay, it's this.
Yeah.
And getting that one kind of boosted her confidence after not getting the free riddle.
After just, I mean, sometimes that's what happens. You'll get stuck on like one little bit of puzzle because you forgot something, and it's always super frustrating.
Yeah. And then the sort of I don't know if you call it a logic puzzle necessarily, but the law puzzle of what is lawful kind of took her a while to think about, because
I actually forget what the answer was to that. What did you guys say?
The answer was none, because there wasn't enough evidence to convict either or.
No.
The boy
would've
didn't
said-
have an alibi, but he had been mistreated.
Yeah.
The father was abusive, but had an alibi, so there wasn't really evidence to convict.
Yeah. It's funny though. Because I know all the characters I play are so chaotic. So I think any one of them would have been like, kill the father, fuck nobles. I don't care if he's guilty or not.
Yeah.
Eat the rich.
He's the rich.
Yeah, Oriana was probably leaning towards the father and arguing that his friend could have lied.
Mm-hmm.
But she realized that with the first puzzle, she realized we're given everything we need. There's nothing that needs to be assumed or outside influence for these puzzles, aside from Cynric giving the items for his puzzle. But that was a very specific,
Adventures would have things
give this, give him this, give him, so she worked under the assumption we've been given everything. So if there's questions that you would have, then obviously there's not enough to say who is guilty. Mm-hmm. And that was her final reasoning for neither. Though I don't remember who actually said it, though. I think
I said it.
I think you said it, yeah.
I was when I had done there, I remember asking Serenity like what did he look like, and like describing what he looked like, and I was trying to. I knew I personally knew it was the answer was not gonna be either one. I just didn't know if I wanted to say both or neither, and I was trying to figure out. Yeah, I was trying to figure out how to mentally understand how could it be both, and then I was like, and so I was like, I'm gonna leave because it didn't make sense why it'd be both, which the answer was neither. So then then when he had said, when Oriana had said neither, I was like, yeah, that's probably it actually. I was like, yeah, I'll say it. I was like, I felt confident. Like, yeah, if that's what we want to go with, I'll say it because
Oriana was the same. She wasn't confident enough to speak for the group on that one, but she kind of had a feeling that it was the answer.
Neat. So overall, do you guys think you did well? I think you did pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, we got 4 out of 6 rewards, and technically 5 out of 6 puzzles.
Yeah, 5 out of 6 puzzles, right.
I felt really bad for Laura because nobody went over to her puzzle to help her out. So even though we were all looking at it and had our own ideas in character, we couldn't say anything. So I felt really bad. I think I feel like I should have gone over to help her. But there was a puzzle nobody had gone to, so I was like, well, what's this puzzle before we, send more people to one that we've already tried.
We were also down a person, so we would have another person probably on someone else, and then had someone go somewhere. Down physical.
Dobby would have been fun.
I know, but the player's brain were actually just down a brain.
We were down a brain, but I think we were up in terms of ability to get things right.
Yeah,
because for sure Dobby would have said, "Kill them both."
Good times.
Kill them both. You make sure you get the bad guy.
You could make an argument. Anyway, so you guys excited for your cool new items?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I want her to tell us what it is so bad. I don't want to wait for Friday. If it's not nighttime, or if it's not quite daytime yet, Oriana is just gonna take her pearl, cast Identify 4 times, and see what everything is. Though I like how we argued outside of character who should get that rapier, and we landed on Cynric.
Yeah.
On the sole premise of until he gets a better lance type weapon, and what happens? We get a lance type weapon.
Yeah, that whole break, we were like,
or pole arm weapon.
All right, we should give the rapier to Ori. Wait, no, give it to Cynric. And it's like, Yeah. And it's like, yeah, until you get something better, like a better like halberd or pole arm,
Yeah.
something. Like just
Isn't
get that.
Stenrick like a pretty strong character though?
Yeah,
He
Shouldn't he be
is,
using a
but
strength-based weapon?
well, the rapier
you can use
is
it both.
it's
Yeah, you can use
finesse. You
both.
can use strength or dex. So
Yeah, but like finesse weapons are really only valuable for dex characters, I feel like.
it's
It
we
can. I mean,
realized his. I think we actually sat down and did the math with his basic halberd, and it
Mhm.
turned out to be like either 2 to 9 damage for the rapier or 1 to 10 damage with the halberd was like the
Yeah.
difference at the end of the day.
yeah.
Or I forget the exact numbers, but he was basically sacrificing 1 maximum damage for greater consistent damage with the
Yeah.
rapier.
And
So
it'd
we
be
were like,
magical, and then all that's
yeah.
Magic. Okay, and now we're going to move on to our topic for the day, which is non-D&D tabletop systems. Yay! Yay, we're going to talk about something other than D&D. Are you excited?
Kind of am, actually, yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so to start us off, what are some like non-D&D TTRPGs you've played?
I think one of the only other non-D&D games I've played is Fate Core, which I actually really enjoy. It's one of those games that's great for like a pickup game of something because it's you take like 30 minutes to set it up and then you're ready to go. You don't have to like take the hour to make your character in D&D, and more than that if it's like a high level game or something. You just kind of sit down, decide what you want to do, pick your stats, go.
I think I've played like an hour and a half of like Call of Cthulhu, maybe. And I played like a game of Pathfinder.
Sweet. So like out of all the systems you've played that are in D&D, which one do you favor, would you say? If you had to pick another system.
Pathfinder.
I've always heard that Pathfinder was very...
It's very similar.
Well, I have friends who swear by Pathfinder. They
Yeah.
just refuse to ever play D&D.
Yeah.
But I've never played it myself. That being said, what I've heard is that I guess the combat's a little more complicated and harder to run, but in terms of like non-combat, it's a lot smoother.
What I would say about Pathfinder, from the bit I've played of it, it's a bit more complicated. Like there's more options. There's more like customizing and
yeah, that's the other thing.
Changing and like morphing talent. Like you can like literally like how in D&D there can be like multiples of the same class and they won't be the same. But the core, all cleric party, they're gonna have healing. Like everyone will have some healing. They might be different. Like one might be more damage or support, but they'll all have some healing or they'll all do like damage. They'll but like in Pathfinder, literally you could be all the same class and you might be very drastically different, like super different.
That seems real weird to me.
Yeah,
actually, this is going to be one of the later on questions. Caleel, since you played Pathfinder, can you explain to me the functional difference between the two systems?
I mean, it's very similar. So like if you play D&D and you play Pathfinder, you'll understand how like the dice system, I'm pretty sure is kind of the same. That's like the scores and all that. It's kind of the same. It's just that there's more customizing of like your character, like background, like class. Like there's several like different archetypes in your classes to change, and then even further down that class line, like you might be like a gunslinger, let's say. Even further down that gunslinger class line, you'll have like different changes, like different branching. It's like an MMO. I feel like it's like
so there's like
branching, like morphing abilities that you can like kind of choose between whichever like class.
What do you call that? When you have like a skill tree? So
yeah,
it's like
a skill tree. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
that's
like,
go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was saying like that's like it's kind of like you have like different skill trees down like each path you go, and so like you could be like two gunslingers. One could just be like super super different from the other. Like could be like dual wielding like gun wielder and like a rifle gun like rifle mechanic artificer type of gun gunslinger, and like two different like play styles and feels, which is so it's like it's it's interesting. I think that's what D&D 5e is trying to do, especially with the new like their book set. Like Xanathars kind of did
Mhm.
that a lot, kind of making so you don't feel like you're all like every class is this or every
Yeah,
subclass
they
is the
add like a
same.
lot of new archetypes,
Yeah,
and a lot of unearthed arcana stuff is pretty cool and
but I feel
interesting.
like D&D is probably just it's easier to grasp because there's not a lot of stuff moving. I feel
Yeah.
like
The rules are a lot simpler.
yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of what I've heard too. Is that you play D&D if you want to sit down and not have to like do 10 hours of homework to make your character. But you play Pathfinder if you literally want to be anything in the game. Just the imagination is the limit.
Yeah,
So there's greater, so it's more complicated, but there's also greater flexibility.
right.
Cool. Okay, interesting. Um, yeah, so comparing 5e to other systems you've played, do you think 5e has like any advantages over other systems? Is it just, is mostly brand recognition and like history, or
I
something
think
special about it?
I think what I the simplicity. I think that is probably the best thing going for 5e. Because even from five different editions from D&D, like 4e, is because I believe 4e is basically what Pathfinder is now. Like it's like or
Mm.
3.5e, or that's what it is. 3.5e is basically what Pathfinder is now. It's just like they changed a little bit of 3.5e and like made it a little bit more you know
Oh, the
complex.
homebrewing.
Yeah, for Pathfinder, but like even different, from different editions from D&D, I think 5e has probably been like the most easily accessible. Like you don't have to like know all the rules, or you just it's very simple. Like, oh, I want to lift this thing. That you would think, oh yeah, you need strength to like lift this, roll a strength check. It's very like simple like terms and like understanding of like this is logical what this would be. And even if it's like, oh, I don't know how that would work, you could just kind of like okay, well you can do like in the rule, like DM the DMG is like, oh, you can like have, even if it doesn't call for a check, you just have whatever check you feel like is needed. And most of the abilities feel like they make sense of what to like, if you want to look out for something, perception, like it makes sense of what the abilities are and what D&D and D5e is. So that's why I feel the simplicity is easier to grasp and understand.
There's a few reasons I like D&D 5e the most out of every system I've used, even including 3.5. I mean, I have friends who only ever play 3.5 because
Yeah.
of all the different things that are homebrewed into it now. But I like 5e, number one, because like you were saying, it's super streamlined. It's, you want to be this class, this race, here's what you get. The other part of that is that I like how it's structured for character growth, not just in terms of role playing and storytelling, but also in terms of what the character is able to do. Like Fate Core, I love Fate Core because it is the ultimate, get the rules out of the way, let's play the game version of tabletop gaming I've seen and played. But there's not really like a you get stronger over time. It's a very good for one shot, but not a good for a campaign setting. It just doesn't feel like you get stronger. And that's what I like about D&D. It's balanced that way so that you can feel how much stronger your character is over time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've played a few different systems myself. I've played Vampire, both Requiem and Masquerade's the old one. Masquerade's the old one. Don't like them, but I have played quite a bit of them. Eternal Grudge. I've played Fades. I've played Hero System. I'm probably forgetting a couple that I've played. I've experimented like with a lot of one shots in different systems. I think I actually came to 5e pretty late in my RPG career. I've only been playing for I think 4 years, I want to say, and I've been like role playing for quite a bit before then. But one thing I do like about it, and one thing that makes I think 5e really fun to run as a DM, is that it's very easy to improvise within the rules. Like what Caleel was saying, like if a character wants to do something, you can use your knowledge of the rules to just make up a check for them to do that. You can be like, okay, well, this is kind of similar to sleight of hand, so do a sleight of hand check, or do just a dex check or an intelligence roll, or even just make a luck check, like roll a d20. We'll see whether you fuck up. So I think that's really fun because it makes sort of like the improvisational collaborative storytelling of D&D possible, which I enjoy. And as a player, I like that I can make a new character in like half an hour.
Yeah.
I appreciate this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so now are there any things about 5e that you don't like and think other systems do better?
Um, like the simplicity is good, but sometimes that is a problem too. I understand the people that like those other systems because sometimes you can't make a character how you want to make it. Like you have to make your character a sort of a like a stereotype ish, like even if it's not completely at all, but you have to follow a niche. Like a
Mm-hmm.
rogue is gonna most likely be good at sneaking, good at like you can't really skirt that line. Like there's some strength rows. You might have a few strength rows out there. Arcane arcane trickster. You have a little bit like intel, but most times you're a dex like rogue type of thing in there. Like sometimes it's maybe you want to be like the like bumbling barbarian or something like that now has joined a thieves guild, and you want to be able like he's transitioning from fighting fisticuffs and trying to become a cat burglar now, and like and
Mm-hmm.
those other systems you kind of make that possible and kind of keep like uh that backstory, if like you have that backstory, like kind of that backstory involved into your whatever like class you're trying to do into this. But in 5e you kind of can't you can there's a good amount of customization. I'm excited to see what this new Tasha's book is going to be, because it sounds like they're trying to do a little bit of that more to like let it be like, hey, this like your race, which you can have different races, be different types of type of specializations, and I'm interested to see what that's going to be. I feel like sometimes you get put in a box because sometimes if you don't in that box, you're not either underwhelming or you don't fit your role as good as someone
Mm-hmm.
else that is made for that role uh, at the same level. So it's kind of like that. That's where I'm like, maybe a little bit more customization, but I understand with the system it is, because it's simplistic. You have to have defined or more defined roles, because it's like this is what this does, this is what this class does, this is what this class does.
I mean, I agree with you there. The fact that there's not really a lot of options outside of what class you want to pick in terms of what you can do is a little bit limiting. The arcane or the unearthed arcana stuff that was out there for a while, of like the different features you could take for different races and the different classes. If that ends up in Tasha, I think you're right. I think we'll see that sort of style in
Yeah.
5e, where it doesn't matter if you want to be a ranger, you can still be a roguelike, or if you want to be a rogue but you want to be a strength rogue, or if you want to be a barbarian who's Dexy
Mm-hmm.
or something.
Yeah.
Um, that would be very interesting to see. Um, Again, I kind of don't penalize 5e for that though,
No, it's not. Yeah.
because if you want to be like a strength-based rogue, you can certainly do that. You can spec into levels of rogue without having to, double down on all of the rogue abilities, and instead take some levels of like fighter and
Right.
be more of like an enforcer. So the multi-classing kind of makes up for it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it depends on like your play style. If you're very much like a min-maxer, D&D is not going to be great for you in terms of creating the story you want and the character that's awesome at everything they do. But maybe with Tasha's, maybe with the new book, we'll see that.
And going off what you're saying, yeah, that's kind of, I think, the biggest gripe I've heard from other people that play like Pathfinder, like 3.5e and stuff like that. Like multiclassing, like you in all multi-classes you lose something, no matter, even one level dips, and that is like a way in 5e system to like get that story of like how weird you want your character to be. I just think, Pathfinder probably does it a little bit better, where it's like it's implemented into that class, and it has so many branches and so many like sub branches that, well, you can just naturally do that and follow and not lose necessarily anything. But I don't think it's necessarily bad. Because again, everyone can't be demigods,
Yeah.
and they're, everyone has to be, bad at something. You can't just be great at everything. But I do think, maybe, I'm hoping, it looks pretty, good with Tasha's. There is a little bit more of that, like, room, like still a glass ceiling, but if you're a little bit more closer to the ceiling than to the floor. I'm hoping.
Yeah.
And I will say this: before Xanathars and the different like subclasses that came out and have come out since, D&D definitely felt very like, well, there's really only one subclass that's good at what it does.
I agree.
Like, the ranger, the animal companion ranger used to be the most
Ranger
useless.
Was absolutely awful before Xanathars.
Yeah.
So,
now ranger is actually kind of good.
Yeah. Horizon Walker is pretty decent.
Horizon Walker's good.
Is really good.
Gloomstalker is
Monster
interesting.
Hunter,
Gloomstalker is
Monster Slayer.
great if you can play it well. Yeah.
I like the new Ranger classes.
And even like some of the monks, like they managed to make monks ranged.
Yeah. So they're definitely going to that more personal, customizable direction, which I like. I think everyone has enjoyed Xanthars, and I think I'm pretty sure we're going to see more of that in Tasha's.
Yeah, I think some of the, like Xanathar and the Unearthed Arcana, and probably Tasha, has added a lot of flexibility to classes. Like you were saying, playing like a strength rogue, but like I got in Serenity's Monday game, which we're taking a break from. I got to play a dex fighter, who was functionally a ranger, and it worked really well for a while. Yeah, so I think it definitely gives you that flexibility, and also like on the topic of like wanting to be good at anything, I feel like an important part of D&D is being bad at some stuff, because like failing really drives the story forward sometimes. So like you need the characters to occasionally fail. Like you need that nat one at the clutch moment just to absolutely ruin everything. That's part of the experience.
Going back to that sort of strength rogue archetype too, I mean, the idea there is solid. Like, if you want to be a strength-based rogue, you can still do it. Yes, you won't feel as strong as other rogues who go to the 20 dex, but at the same time, there needs to be a trade-off for you speccing into what you're not supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And D&D could clean that up so that it's not about, well, you're not supposed to play like this. But at the same time, a big, beefy rogue is also not going to be the sneaky.
Right.
You can be beefy and sneaky. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what new rogue archetypes come with the new books. Exciting. Sorry, I keep coughing. It's really smoky. It's like getting in through the windows.
Bless you.
Bless you.
Gotta love the fires.
Yeah.
So, which system do you think has the least painful combat mechanics?
Honestly, I'd still say D&D.
Interesting.
Painful? Like painful? Like mean like
the least painful. Right?
The least painful. Like you get the least annoyed with them. They don't drag as much. Like because a lot of people don't like combat in D&D. I know, because it can go on for a while.
Yeah.
It can go on for a while, but
it's also very simple.
I don't have any experience with Pathfinder, so maybe answer this better. But I imagine the different kinds of things you can do just makes combat all the more annoying.
Yeah, it's way more complex.
Fate has a very hit or miss quality to it. I've come to realize, where you know, it's not necessarily that it's slow and you trudge through it, but it's also a lot more punishing. There's not like a hit point mechanic. It's what kind of wounds are you willing to take? And, you know, how are you willing to spend time to either recover for them, or what traumatic thing are you willing to have happen that you don't actually take the damage? Like, oh, I lost an arm, but, you know, I still have my HP or whatever. You know, it's a weirder version of it, and it doesn't seem. I'm forgetting the word. It doesn't seem like it makes sense to it. It's not conducive, I think is the word.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of agree. I enjoyed Fate combat a lot less than I thought it would, because like when you read on paper, it seems really cool. You're like, okay, this is a more realistic combat. Like you get real injuries that give you like actual deficits while you're in battle. Because like honestly, like combat in D&D is super unrealistic. Like if you're at 1 hit point, you should be on the ground spitting up blood. You should not be able to fight. But with Fate, it doesn't work quite the way it should. I'm not sure if that's just because it's hard to run. My thoughts.
I mean, with D&D and the whole, oh, you're on 1 HP and you're still standing, you're still fighting at your best, technically. Mm-hmm. There are optional rules you can implement with that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
and if your players
but you don't want it though.
But honestly, the reason I like D&D combat is because it's not realistic. Mm-hmm. Like the barbarian as just a class idea, like should not be as strong as it is. It's a guy running around with no armor who just takes hits and goes and like flicks you into oblivion. And I love that. I love that sort of aesthetic to it. I agree. Like if there was more punishment for taking massive damage, it would probably feel a little bit more realistic. But at the same time, this is also a place where people can get max healed within seconds. If they do the right thing. And I mean, if you take an hour breather and eat some snacks, you could be back to fully.
Yeah, have a cookie, you'll be great.
You know, so it's fine to me that it's not realistic. The only complaint I have about 5e combat is that in mass combat, which at certain levels, it's just going to have to be mass combat once you get up into the higher levels, having a single enemy that you know, a party of 20 level 20s fight, unless it's a Tarrasque.
You can fight like demigods, you can fight a kraken, you can fight a lot of things. I feel like
it can happen, but I think I think Critical Role kind of proved that even then it can still be hours and hours of combat. But there's really not a way to address that without just cutting out a lot of what makes the combat fun, which is feeling that sense of accomplishment.
Gotta slog through it. I mean, combat can be fun too, because honestly, like there can be some really interesting roleplay that happens during combat.
Oh, definitely.
And like story happens while the mechanics are happening as well.
Yeah. The only time I feel like combat is truly boring is if it's just, I rolled a 20. Okay.
I hit 14.
Okay,
damage.
you do that damage. Like I've had DMs that do that kind of combat before, and it's just so we're just playing the computer game, and the computer game's chugging out numbers. Okay.
Yeah, like you get on your phone, you're like, okay, I just wait for my turn.
Like I love how
low numbers, guys. I want to see how many numbers are coming off the boss.
I love how Serenity runs combat, because it's never just this bland, you know, okay, you did that much damage. She goes into detail of like what happens to the creature after it takes the hit, or you know, the how would you like to finish this moments are always nice. Like those are marks of a good and very experienced DM. You know, it's very much how you make the combat feel worth it, because it can feel like a slog, but boy, when you get to chop the head of that dragon off, rip out its tongue, and then shove it, you know, that's just like the moment of combat. That's like, that's what the hour-long combat was for, that moment.
Yeah. Like, this is D&D. Gonna wear this dragon skull on my head.
I rip out its fang and stab it in the eye.
Yeah, you get to do cool shit sometimes. It's fun. Okay, we got carried away. A bunch of other questions. So have you guys played editions previous to 5e? Can you tell me how they compare?
Oh gosh, I played second edition like at the end of high school, early college with my friends. God, that was hard. That was just the hardest thing I've ever played. Because at early levels, you just can't do anything. I remember I played a ranger, and like my chance to hit was so bad. But if I hit, I could basically one shot like anything that wasn't a boss.
Huh.
I'm a youngin. I'm
A
like
youngin.
I'm 20s. So
Wait, how old are you?
I'm 23 in
So young.
10 more days.
You're a whole 3 years younger than me.
Yeah. So
You small child.
I've looked at the like old like Ravenloft books
Mhm.
and like the old like two I didn't they call it AD&D back then or something like that.
Yeah, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
So I've looked at them and I think I've played like a little bit of like I played like maybe like an hour and maybe of 3.5 because I was trying to learn how to play Pathfinder. So I played a little bit of like or like in red a little bit of like the older editions. It's just like oh man, this is
It's different.
this is antiquated. It's a little bit more difficult. I don't know. I can understand why things got changed. You know, there's some things that was like just like AD&D is just like ruthless, like just absolute ruthless. Like
Oh yeah, no, you were supposed to die in AD.
you're just like, well, you just need to have like 17 backup characters because you're going to die. It's not like, oh, if you die, no,
It's like everything is
when
Team
you
of
die,
Horrors.
what's your next character for the next campaign or for next hour of this one shot because we're gonna go through about 5 of them in this 5-hour one shot. So
I mean,
just have that ready.
It was common for stuff to just permanently reduce your stats too.
Yeah.
Like I remember the first ever thing I played, I looked under a bed and there was a beetle and it sprayed acid on my face and it permanently reduced my charisma.
What?
And I'm just like, well,
Okay.
that sucks.
But I think people. I mean, there's people out there that
Darn
are
beetle.
3.5 stands. People still play 3.5 a lot. So it has to be doing something well. And from what I've heard, it's kind of like Pathfinder. So it seems like it's a like a more customizable edition. I think eh, I like 5e probably out of the most of the editions.
I stopped playing 3.5 for 2 reasons. One, I had players look up and make me implement sex, including pregnancy rolls.
What?
Yeah.
What are sex rolls?
Yeah.
When are
You
we
don't
gonna
want
do
to know.
that?
You don't want to know.
Did you
Wouldn't
have
that
to roll
just
for
be like a
kids?
performance check? Is it a performance check?
Did you and Ken
No.
have to roll for kids when you
It should be.
They had me roll for twins. Yes. And then the other thing was a guy joined that game and built a character who the entire class is basically just he has points and he uses the points to access any class ability across anything. And I'm like, no. I'm done.
That seems broken. That seems broken.
He could
I mean,
rage, he could heal, he could do everything.
That's like multi-class Wish or like low-level multi-class Wish.
Yeah.
Crazy. Okay, so we have seconds left. What system should people definitely try that you would recommend?
I would try Pathfinder. Especially if you don't like if you have those that like feeling like if you're very like imaginative and like you feel like D&D is too boxed in for you, I would try Pathfinder, try 3.5. Because that is one of the major draws. Is like if you feel like you want to be the rogue prince that had been changed to a wizard for some reason, turned to a frog wizard because he stole a princess and the king cursed him, and that's what you wanted. Like,
Now he's a frog. He's a wizard.
So now you're like a frog wizard rogue type thing. That's Try Pathfinder. Try 3.5.
If you want to be a frog.
Yeah, if you want to be a frog wizard rogue. guy.
I would say if you're interested in running one shots, try Fate Core.
Mhm.
Because it's very, very conducive to that.
Cool beans. My recommendation is don't try Vampire. If you're currently playing Vampire, stop. Switch to a better system. Ugh. Yeah, and that's all our time for today. I've alienated probably a decent amount of our fans here. That's okay. So we're back. We're going to be here again next week on Tuesday. Tune in on Friday
Same
for...
Same two people. Just that's what the show is now. Just
different people. Different people next time. Nope.
You just got us for the rest of eternity.
Just change it to the Ori and Baltaim show. That's what we're
No, you guys are
to.
great guests, as always. Tune in on Friday for the next episode of Roll for Damage, where Oriana's going to get to talk about her feelings and stuff.
Oh, yes,
As always, stay after the show for links and stuff. Check out our brand new store to buy shirts and cool things. Links up in our Twitch about, I think. Yeah, in our Twitch about, should be there. Thank you for watching. We will see you next week. Stay cool.
Peace.
We love you.